July 1st is here, and our yearly reminder of the most infamous contract in sports history rears its ugly head again. I have an article here breaking down Bobby Bonilla's deferred payment contract that has seen this man getting paid every year till 2035, even though he hasn't played since 2000. But before I get into that, I want to let y'all know we're going to be doing daily videos on our YouTube channel now. I'm going to give 10 to 15 minute breakdowns of an article I find every day. Just quick reaction, read through it, and give my thoughts on things. If you want to make sure you catch these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and then click the little bell there to get the notifications so you make sure you get all my good little videos every day. And if you enjoy our content, be sure to share it and let people know about us. Let's get into this article and I'll break it down. From the New York Post. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. July 1st means time for the Mets to pay off this brutal contract. If not for Bernie Madoff, the Mets may not have had made the 2000 World Series. If not for Madoff, the Mets may have not drafted David Wright. If not for the perpetrator of the largest Ponzi scheme in history, the Mets may not own one of baseball's most ridiculous deals. Today is the 10th anniversary of Bobby Bonilla Day, during which the 57-year-old former outfielder who retired from baseball in 2001 will collect a check for $1,193,248.20. From the team he disappointed during two separate stints, the Mets owed Bobby Bonilla $5.9 million when they released him after the 1999 season and agreed to defer the payments through 2035 at 8% interest, largely because the Wilpons had been told their account with Madoff would have produced annual profits of at least 10%. Bernie Madoff, for those of you who don't know, largest Ponzi scheme in history. So basically, the Mets ownership said, sure, we'll defer the payments because we're making all this money off of this massive scam. I don't know why they didn't question this when it was happening, but typical Mets. I guess that's why they're a poorly run organization are the Wilpons these days. But let's keep going. So as Madoff serves 150 years in prison and the Wilpons are searching for a buyer to sell their team for their cash hemorrhaging club, Bonilla gets paid more money by the Mets than NL Rookie of the Year Pete Alonso and their all-star outfielder Jeff McNeil, adding to an ever-growing windfall, which will reach nearly $30 million when the deal expires in 2035. So a $5.9 million bailout is going to be worth nearly $30 million. That's a great payday. I love to, wake up July 1st every year, get my $1.1 million check in the mail, living life good. I know Bobby is happy about it, but we don't talk much about it. Bonilla's former agent, Dennis Gilbert, told USA Today Sports in 2018, it's unfortunate they got hoodwinked in the Madoff deal. Otherwise, it would have been a win-win for both sides. I don't know about that. In addition to the investments with Madoff, Mets ownership was motivated to postpone paying Bonilla in order to invest in a roster that had just made the NLCS for the first time in 11 years. Less than 2 weeks before cutting Bonilla, the Mets acquired 2000 NLCS MVP Mike Hampton for $5.75 million and starting outfielder Derek Bell for $5 million. When Hampton left as a free agent for Colorado 1 year later, the Mets earned a compensatory pick used to select David Wright, arguably one of the Mets' best players in the mid-2000s. When Wright and the Mets won the 2015 NL pennant, Bonilla made more than the team's 4 World Series starters, Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, and Steve Matz, which is hilarious because Syndergaard and deGrom are arguably 2 of the best pitchers in baseball right now. I mean, it was 5 years ago, and I know they're making a lot more than that now, but it's just comical at this point. From 1992 to 1994, Bonilla made more than any player in the majors. The Bronx native first returned home for a 5-year, $29 million deal, which also included deferred payments. Since 2004, the Mets and Orioles, who traded for him in 1995, have split a separate $500,000 annual payment to Bonilla, which will continue to 2023. The infamous deal becomes more astonishing each year. You make some bad and some good deals, Mets COO Jeff Wilpon told the Post this year. This one was a deferred compensation agreement, which are common. We'll go into that later. I have a couple more articles about deferred compensation comments, and it really is common, and there's some real head scratchers. You'd think people would have learned after this deal. maybe not to defer contracts so much, but again, owners are all about buck in the now and not necessarily looking forward to the future, especially of poorly run organizations. I think it's hilarious. The offer of every retiree's dream wasn't agreed to as quickly as most people would assume. It was questioned from the inception because people wondered whether getting 8% interest was a good deal. At the time, we were having double-digit inflation, and people were thinking, geez, could he have made more money investing in other things, Gilbert said. Bobby needed to understand how it worked too, and Bobby is a very conservative guy. He wanted to make sure he had money for the future. He was concerned about taking care of his family. But when you look at it now, 8% is not a very conservative number, especially guaranteed. All right, and that's it. I'm going to pull up some of these other articles right here. So we talks about Bobby Bonilla's deal. Again, another strange article. We know that. Bruce Sutter, let's see. He agreed to a deal for 6 years and $9.1 million. Each year of his Braves salary of $750,000 was just an interest payment on the money, roughly 8% interest, which means he still got paid in 1989 and 1990 despite being retired. Then for 30 years, the Braves have been on the hook for $1.2 million every year. And in 2022, when Sutter is 69 years old, they owe him a balloon payment of $9.1 million. All in all, over $47 million for a pitcher who delivered just 40 saves for a team that averaged 96 losses per season. Incredible. Ichiro, I'm not going to really go into that. Ichiro, Hall of Fame player, that kind of makes sense. Same with Mario Lemieux and Ken Griffey Jr. I don't really question paying guys, taking care of stars and studs on your team. It makes sense. I know Tim Duncan has a lifetime deal with the Spurs, so it makes sense. Chris Davis. Orioles gave Chris Davis a 7-year deal for $161 million in 2016. They'd afford $42 million over 15 years. That means Davis gets checks until he's 51. Unfortunately, Davis almost immediately cratered at the plate, hitting 168 and 179 in the last 2 seasons. The Orioles owe him over $54 million until 2022, then $3.5 million from 2023 to 2032, and finally $1.4 per year from 2033 to 2037. It might be the worst contract in baseball history, and it still has 17 years to go. Chris Davis, nothing but a home run hitter. He was really good in the minor leagues, was terrible when the Rangers would call him up. I saw him play in the minor leagues at the Express. I don't know. And then he was good for 1 year or so with the Orioles, and the bottoms fell out. Even in an era where it's all strikeouts and home runs in baseball, he still can't seem to get it done. And the Orioles are going to be in the crater for this. And it's not like the Orioles make a ton of money from an ownership standpoint. And this is where the no salary cap really kind of crushes baseball and especially keeps bad teams bad and good teams good when they have bad contracts, bad ownership, general manager stuff, and you don't make enough money to make up for that stuff. It can really set you back. How about, it's not just exclusive to baseball though, Josh Smith and the NBA. Josh Smith signed with the Pistons in 2013, and let's just say it didn't work out. He got $54 million for 4 years, but lasted only 105 games, just over a year. And then the Pistons cut him outright, meaning they owed him the balance of his contract while he played elsewhere. To compound the issue, the Pistons used a stretch provision, lowering the annual cost but ensuring that Smith was still getting an annual $5.3 million through this season. 3 years after his last NBA game and 6 years after he last played for Detroit. That's ridiculous. I know they said in 2017 he was making more money than MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, which goes to show you why the Pistons have been struggling and meandering for so long. But let's go. He's not the only one. Another great one I want to look at, Darren Williams in the Nets. This payment just finished up this week too, so it's kind of perfect. Darren Williams has been getting paid, has signed with the Nets in 2012 and hasn't played in the NBA since 2017. There was little reason to doubt Nets signing Williams to a 5-year, $98 million contract back in 2012 at the time when he was 28 years old, coming off averaging 21 points and 8.7 assists for the season, and was a critical part of the team's success, and he had just made 3 straight All-Star games. They were banking, and the contract expired when he turned 23. They were banking on him to be a star and lead that team. They also made those massive trades with Boston, giving up 3 straight first-round picks to get Garnett, Paul Pierce, and I forget who else they got. Jason Terry, and they got Jason Terry. The Nets thought they were set up for life, and they made 1 playoff appearance and got bounced in the first round, I believe. Maybe they won 1 playoff series, but safe to say it didn't work out at all for the Nets. But let's keep going. Two things happened. First, Williams' play started to deteriorate, but not in a major way, but enough for the hefty price tag to make it difficult. Nets decided following the 14-15 season, it was a full rebuild. As constructed, the team was entirely reliant on aging Joe Johnson and Williams to carry the load, deciding to take their lumps. They parted way with the two. So Brooklyn decided to buy out the contract, but didn't want to pay up the remainder up front. Instead, they backloaded the contract, the remaining $27.5 million he was owed, and pushed it out over the remaining 5 years. This meant from 2015 to 2020, Brooklyn's been paying Williams over $5 million a year when he was still able to go to the Mavericks and collect $10 million on a contract, then play for the Cavaliers for a year. So basically, for 5 years, the Nets paid this man almost $10,000 a day not to play for them. I don't know if that says you're that bad that a team doesn't want you to play for them, that they're willing to pay you that much, or you have a great agent or something. You know, maybe the agent gets a nice little Christmas bonus or something when you got contracts like this. And it's amazing, more and more guys you're seeing this investing in retirement, not front-loading their contracts. Everybody wants to backload their contracts. Teams are always, like I said, not about the here and now. They're about, what can we do in the future? And it kind of puts them in bad situations. I'm sure there's exemptions on the rule book on cap space and what goes against the cap and not. But it really is a precarious situation for these teams when they get into these deals. I don't think any one of them have ever worked out. We can go down and go back to this article, look at Alex Cobb. Don't know. Here's NHL. Rick DiPietro, goalie for the New York Islanders. He had a 15-year contract in 2006, just before his 25th birthday. Unlike a lot of NHL long-term deals, it wasn't even a cap circumvention. He got $5.5 million every season for 15 years. Unfortunately, he suffered a series of injuries to his hips and his knees, which can't do that as a goalie. You need, that flexibility to be able to move. And a broken jaw, which is super rare. Yeah, you can see, you got the big helmet and mask protector on there. But he got in a fight. Oh, there you go, in a goalkeeper fight. By 2013, the Islanders decided on a compliance buyout, 2/3 of his remaining salary for twice the remaining length, meaning they'll be paying him for 23 years, $1.5 million a year until 2029 when he's 48. It sucks when your career doesn't really work out, but it's really nice when you get taken care of like that. Oh, look, another Brett Saberhagen, another terrible Mets contract. Kevin Garnett, experiment with that since he's getting a $5 million per year in deferred salary from the Celtics, which is weird. The Celtics are a freaking well-run organization. His deal gives him $35 million over 7 years after his retirement in 2016, so Boston will be paying him through 2024. Oh, and he also collected $8 million in 16 and 17 when he played 0 games for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Oh, that's funny. Johan Santana, it's the Mets. Look at this, again with the Mets. Oh, what is with the Mets, the Wilpons, and these freaking contracts? Jesus. No, the Mets paid him $37 million after an injury, including a buyout, but they also owed him $5 million at 1.25% compound interest for 7 years. So 2020 is the last year for this deal. Zach Randolph in the NBA, the $84 million from the Blazers in 2004, deferred 30% until 2012, 2017 when he was starring for the Memphis Grizzlies. He also signed a 4-year deal for $66 million in 2011 and deferred almost $10 million. So Z-Bo seems like a smart financial guy. He deferred all of his money and payments, and he was pretty much a key figure piece in those Memphis teams that they pushed OKC a couple times in the playoffs. They won a few series. Him and Mike Conley. It didn't really work out for them to get the title, but seems like a really smart business. Wayne Gretzky, the great one, you could pay him forever. A-Rod, the king of massive contracts. Let's see, 2001, he deferred payments from the Rangers for $45 million at 3%. Then he deferred that again after his trade to the Yankees. So from 2016 to 2025, he's getting paid. No surprise. Hey, look, A-Rod's trying to buy the Mets with J-Lo. So maybe he's going to continue the trend for the Mets with these terrible contracts. Todd Helton, another deferred contract. This is the one I want to get to. Steve Young. This is an interesting one. Steve Young signed a contract with the Los Angeles Express that would have paid him $40 million over 43 years. He got $6.2 million in signing bonus and actual salary, and then would have been paid around $32 through an annuity from 1990 to 2027. Unfortunately, the owner of the Express was going bankrupt by 1985, so much so that Young had to personally pay for a bus driver to take them to one game and line up a tailback because the Express had no money to replace injured players. Young eventually settled the annuity for $1.4 million, presumably figuring it was better than what he'd get after bankruptcy proceedings. See, I get Steve Young. This is what happens with these startup football leagues. You can't make it in the NFL, or they don't have the money to compete with the NFL. Good thing Steve Young took that payout, and then of course he went on to have a Hall of Fame NFL career, quarterback with the Niners. So I just think that's hilarious. He had to pay for the bus driver to take him to a game. At what point are you looking at like, oh crap, I need to get the hell out of here, sitting with this contract. My owner can't even pay for the bus ride. I got to play tailback because we can't pay injured players. But it just goes to show you how the business world of sports is ridiculous, and it's very interesting, the people who run front offices and what agents can do to finagle contracts to get this kind of payout and stuff. But I think that's going to do it for us today. Remember, daily videos are now on our channel, on our YouTube channel. We're uploading daily, so if you want to make sure you catch all those videos, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell right there so you get notifications when my videos come out every day. Gonna shoot for around 4 o'clock, I think, every day. Hopefully we'll see where this goes. I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all tomorrow.